Something inside that tunnel changed everything in less than one night. And by morning, it was already too late for anyone to go back in. Not a warning, not a siren, just silence, followed by a sealed gate that no one officially admits closing. And the strangest part. The last security footage shows the tunnel was still open at 2:11 a.m. But by 5:30 a.m., it was completely shut from the outside. No records, no orders, no explanation. Only questions that still haven't been answered. Only questions that still haven't been answered. To understand what happened, you have to picture the place first. A long, forgotten railway tunnel somewhere in the UK countryside. The kind of place most people drive past without ever noticing. Moss on the stone, rusted metal, a cold draft that always seems to come from nowhere. It wasn't famous. It wasn't special. At least, not at first. Locals said trains stopped using it years ago, but maintenance checks still happened occasionally. Just routine inspections, nothing unusual. At least that's what the official report said. But people who work there tell a different story. One former maintenance worker described it as too quiet, not peaceful, just wrong. Like the sound inside didn't behave normally. Even footsteps felt delayed, like the tunnel was swallowing sound instead of carrying it. That detail didn't matter at the time. Until the week, everything changed. It started with small things. A missing tool, a gate left slightly open, a camera feed that glitched for a few seconds at night. Nothing that would raise alarms on its own. But on the third night, something unusual was caught on security footage. At exactly 2:13 a.m., one of the internal cameras flickered, just for a moment. When the image returned, a maintenance cart that had been parked near the middle of the tunnel had moved about 10 meters forward. No wind, no workers, no recorded entry. Just movement inside an empty tunnel. At first, supervisors dismissed it as a system error. Old equipment, low lighting, nothing more. But the worker reviewing the footage reportedly paused for a long time before making a note that was later removed from the official file. He wrote, "Object moved without external force." After that, things started escalating. 2 nights later, a nearby resident reported hearing something unusual from the tunnel area. A low, dragging sound that repeated every few minutes. Not consistent enough to be ordinary, but too structured to be natural. Drag, pause, drag, pause, like something was trying to move, but struggling to understand how. The report wasn't taken seriously until a security guard stationed nearby made a phone call that would later become the most unsettling piece of evidence in the entire case. The call lasted less than 15 seconds. On the recording, the guard's voice is shaky. At first, he says nothing makes sense down there. Then, there's a long pause. And just before the call cuts, he says something that was never fully explained. He says, "It's not empty. It's just not showing itself properly." Then the line goes dead. When backup arrived, the guard was found sitting outside the tunnel entrance. No injuries, no panic, just silence. He refused to re-enter the tunnel and wouldn't explain what he saw. But later, under pressure, he said one sentence that made investigators stop asking questions too aggressively. He said, "It didn't feel like a place anymore." And that's when authorities decided to conduct a full inspection. The next night, a small team entered the tunnel with full equipment. Cameras, radios, tracking devices, everything standard. At first, everything seemed normal. The deeper they went, the colder it became. Not temperature-wise at first, but acoustically. Every sound started to feel delayed, like the tunnel wasn't reflecting noise correctly anymore. One of the team members joked that it felt like walking inside a recording of a tunnel instead of a real one, but the joke didn't last long. Around 300 meters in, the radio signal began to break. First static, then silence. Then something strange happened on the helmet cameras. All footage from multiple angles showed the same thing at the same time. A slight distortion in the tunnel ahead. Not a physical object, more like a visual inconsistency. A space where the darkness looked heavier. One of the team members stopped walking. He didn't say anything at first, just raised his hand slowly. The rest of the team turned their lights forward, and that's when one of them whispered, "That wasn't there before." The camera tried to adjust focus, For a split second, something appeared at the far end of the tunnel. Not clearly visible, not fully formed, but enough to make the entire team stop moving. And then, all at once, the lights began to flicker, one by one, until the tunnel went completely dark. What happened next is only partially known. The footage cuts in and out for the final 40 seconds. In fragments, you can hear heavy breathing, a sudden metallic sound like something scraping along the tunnel wall, then silence again, and then footsteps. Slow, measured, coming from deeper inside the tunnel. But the strange part is this. According to the recorded data, nothing was supposed to be inside that section, except the team itself. Yet the footsteps did not match any of their movement patterns. At 3:47 a.m., all communication was lost. At 4:10 a.m., emergency backup was sent. At 5:20 a.m., the tunnel entrance was found completely sealed from the outside. Heavy industrial gates that required mechanical locking systems had been shut. From the outside, without authorization logs, no one could explain how. Even more disturbing, the keys and control systems were still inside the facility building, untouched. It was as if the tunnel had been closed by something that didn't need permission, or didn't understand it. After that, the official report changed tone completely. The incident was labeled as structural emergency closure, but internally, documents referenced unidentified and environmental anomaly. Those files were later restricted. The team inside the tunnel was never officially declared missing in public records. But internally, their last known location was marked simply as no return signal. Locals near the site still report unusual activity. Some say on certain nights, you can hear faint echoes coming from the sealed entrance. Not loud enough to be obvious, just subtle vibrations in the ground, like something still moving beneath the surface. Others claim that if you stand too close, you can hear what sounds like metal scraping from the inside. Slow, deliberate, like something is testing the walls, trying to remember how to get out. The most unsettling detail, however, comes from a maintenance engineer who reviewed the site months later. He said the lock mechanism showed no signs of forced entry. Instead, it looked like it had been engaged from the inside, which shouldn't be possible. And yet, it happened. To this day, no official explanation has been released about what caused the tunnel to be sealed so suddenly. No clear incident report, no confirmed cause, no closure for the people involved. Just a tunnel that was open one night and permanently shut the next morning. And sometimes, the most disturbing mysteries aren't the ones that are solved. They're the ones that are carefully locked away, without ever telling you what was inside.